Alright, now I'm going to uncover 4 secrets that you must know about English speaking. Secret 1, how to make your English fluent without learning grammar. Secret 2, how to have a natural English speech rhythm even if you don't have language talent. Secret 3, how to speak like a native speaker even if you don't have opportunities to speak with English speakers. Secret 4, how to use the English sound system to help you speak like a native speaker. Okay, let's start with Secret 1 first. Secret 1, how to make your English fluent without learning grammar. Right, many people have spent 5-10 years reading and learning English, but the end result is often poor speaking. It's even more frustrating when being able to read and write, but not being able to speak fluently. So why is this the case? The main reason for not being able to speak fluent English is because people still think in Chinese and then translate it into English. Then they speak the translated English, and unlike reading and writing, you don't have all the time in the world to translate and respond. Many English learners think learning grammar is one of the keys to speaking fluent English because it's learning the correct sentence structure of the language. However, also, unlike reading and writing, you don't have all the time in the world to process all the grammatical structure. Grammar is not like pronunciation. You can't really practice grammar. You can only pick it up unconsciously with your brain. Honestly, grammar books never helped me, English nor Chinese. It's because I pick it up unconsciously while watching English videos. That's already enough. Let me ask you this. That you put a lot of effort in Chinese grammar? Do you think of grammar when speaking Chinese? And I believe that the answer of both of the questions is no. So do you still think learning grammar can help you speak fluent English? I believe you should know the answer. So what do? You listen and speak more. That's it. However, in most cases, just by listening and speaking more can only bring you to an intermediate level and nowhere near native. It's because some sounds and habits in English are quite hard to distinguish and produce. For example, most Japanese speakers aren't able to distinguish the difference between L and R. I was also unable to distinguish TH and D back then. It's because we don't have these sounds in our native language, and they are so unfamiliar. So our brain filters out these unfamiliar sounds. And if we can't distinguish them, how do we pronounce them correctly? And it's not just the sounds. There are even more. Weak forms, connected speech, intonations. So if you want to really speak correctly, the best way is by mastering the sound system of English in order to know the exact act of speech of English to speak correctly every time you speak. Remember, the more confident you are, the more you speak. Then the more you speak, the faster you improve. Some of you may ask that you still have to think even if you have mastered the English sound system. Yet this is not the case. It's because speaking is more of an unconscious mind plus muscle memory skill. The more you practice, the more used to and familiar you'll be. It's like dancing. The more you dance, the more you can dance without thinking. So you don't have to think much about your sound production if you're used to it. It's like when we speak Chinese, we think about the pronunciation only when we are not used to or familiar with that word. Some of you may ask, no matter how hard I try, my speech rhythm is so unnatural. Is it because I don't have language talent? Which brings us to Secret 2, how to have a natural English speech rhythm even if you don't have language talent. Many Chinese speakers are believed to be able to pronounce single English words clearly. However, most of the time when they combine them into a sentence, English speakers find it hard to understand. So, why native speakers find it hard to understand Chinese English. The reason behind this is because of the difference in stress and intonation patterns in Chinese and English. English is a stress-time language. In a stress-time language, syllables may last different amounts of time. Stress timing is strongly related to vowel reduction processes. On the other hand, Chinese is a syllable time language. In a syllable time language, every syllable is perceived as taking up roughly the same amount of time. Syllable time languages tend to give syllables approximately equal prominence and generally lack reduced vowels. It means that Chinese speakers generally find it harder to alter the amount of time of each syllable and find it harder to reduce vowel. It is because Chinese speakers are used to not having the syllables with different time. They are used to having every syllable taking up roughly the same time, and Chinese lack reduced vowels. However, English speakers often rely on the stress level to highlight the most important words to understand the sentence. For example, so in a sentence like, the reason behind this is because of the difference in stress and intonation patterns in Chinese and English. Chinese speakers will say like, the reason behind this is because of the difference in stress and intonation pattern in Chinese and English. And absolutely, the pronunciation is completely correct. However, because each syllable has the same weight and length, English speakers find it harder to hear the most important content words, thus making it harder to understand. And it gets worse if Chinese speakers try to speak faster. It'll be something like, the reason behind this is because of the difference in stress and intonation pattern in Chinese and English. And this, no one would understand. So what do? We have to understand which vowels need to be lighter and shorter, and which vowels need to be heavier and longer. You don't have to have language talent to do it. We can do that by understanding the sound system of English, because it has an explanation on which vowels and why the vowels need to be reduced, so you will fully understand how to perform a natural speech. This is the way I learned how to speak like this. I, who have learned English for years, used this method and succeeded in 1 year. Then you may ask, wait, but I don't have the opportunities to speak with native speakers. Then how can I speak like a native speaker? Which brings us to secret 3. How to speak like a native speaker even if you don't have opportunities to speak with English speakers. Okay, let's talk about why can't you speak like a native speaker even if you communicate with English speakers every day. Yes, you can boost your English to an intermediate level if you communicate with English speakers every day. However, you cannot fully copy what native speakers do just by listening to and imitating them, unless you have a godlike imitating talent. There are 3 reasons. First, like I have said before, most people are not an imitating master. It's like you cannot be an elite singer just by listening to and imitating elite singers unless you're gifted with a pair of godlike ears and singing talent. Secondly, most native speakers tend not to correct your English speaking as long as they understand 50 to 60% of your discourse. So it means that if this is the case, then your English will always be 50 to 60% understandable. Last but not least, a lot of native speakers actually don't know how to correct your speaking. It's because they are born with the language. Sometimes they don't even know what they're doing. I'm going to give you an example. Stephen Curry is arguably the best shooter in the NBA. Let's look what advice he gives and what he actually does.
No, yes. I want to keep that ball on my fingertips so that I can see a little bit of space in between the ball and your hand.
He says that you don't want the ball sitting on your palm like this. He then says that he supposedly keeps the ball on his fingertips and demonstrates how to hold it as such. He says that you should be able to see a little bit of space between the ball and your hand. So let's see if Curry does any of these things when he shoots. Looking from this footage of Curry at Madison Square Garden, we can see that he clearly does not hold the ball the same way that he demonstrated in the earlier video. Here's another angle from a different game in Washington.
Okay, I think we've seen enough. You guys should get what I mean. Ability doesn't equal to knowledge. And most importantly, English native speakers did not go through all the obstacles and difficulties you and I faced when learning English. Only a non-native English speaker that can speak like a native speaker, which I am, can teach an adult how to speak like a native speaker. So how do we speak like a native speaker? 3 words. English sound system. That's what I did. Why? Because it helps you acquire the right knowledge of all English sounds, speech rhythm, tone, fluency, and so on. After you acquire the right knowledge, you can then practice and progress. Why is it so important to acquire the right knowledge? It's because using the wrong knowledge to practice may even bring negative effects and push you further away from advanced level English speaking. It's like running. Running with a commonly bad running form not only makes your overall performance worse, it even causes breaking in talk, which equates to inefficient running and leads to many common injuries. On the other hand, running with a good running form not only boosts your overall performance, it even prevents stress that causes strain and injury. It also makes running more enjoyable and efficient. So, just like running, a bad base of English speaking may cause a lot of problems. On the other hand, acquiring the right knowledge by learning the sound system of English is very important for improving English speaking. And you're probably now wondering, right, I know this sound system thing is good, so how do we use it? Which brings us to Secret 4, how to use the English sound system to help you speak like a native speaker. First is being able to distinguish all sounds. It's because you cannot produce the sound if you cannot distinguish them. So if you cannot distinguish the sounds, you will know what you're actually doing. The second is being able to produce all sounds and syllables. The sounds and syllables of the language is the base of the language. If you don't have them, you can't speak things correctly. It's like mathematics. If you don't know simple things and equations like these, how can you calculate these complex equations? So you practice until you can produce all sounds and syllables effortlessly. The third is word stress. Every word that has more than one syllable has a main stress in the word. This is something that Chinese does not have. For example, in the word water, the first syllable wo is stressed and the second syllable t is not. So it's water or water. However, most Chinese speakers pronounce it as water or water. And the difference in the stress position may even change the meaning of the word. For example, this word. The stress is in the front in present, and it means something that you give, like a gift, which is a noun. The stress is in the back in present. It means to give, provide, or make something known, which is a verb. So it's present versus present. Present, present. So the thing you have to do is to understand the difference in stress level, practice them, and master them. The fourth is intonation. It means the sound changes produced by the rise and fall of the voice when speaking. Intonation is not just words, it involves sentences. So it's one step further than word stress. The fifth is connected speech. This is the hardest part. This is where we link words together. You have to make this act natural. Let's review the steps again. The first is being able to distinguish all sounds, being able to produce all sounds and syllables, word stress, intonation, connected speech. Last but not least, remember to practice. You may ask, should I really start with the sounds first? I know most of them clearly. Could I start with the other ones first? In my opinion, unless you have already mastered them, I recommend you to still start with the sounds and syllables first because it's the base of the language. How important is the base? It's like learning Chinese Kung Fu. What your Shifu tells you to do first is to practice your stance. If you ask your Shifu to teach you new moves before you have a firm stance, he would scold you and smack your butt. He'll say, the firmer your stance, the stronger you'll be, and the faster you'll improve your Kung Fu. If your stance is not steady enough, you'll be weaker and you'll improve slower. It's also like building a building. Your building will collapse if its base is unstable. On the other hand, the stronger the base, the higher the building can be. Okay, so let's review the 4 secrets we just learned. Secret 1, how to make your English fluent without learning grammar. Secret 2, how to have a natural English speech rhythm, even if you don't have language talent. Secret 3, how to speak like a native speaker even if you don't have opportunities to speak with English speakers. Secret 4, how to use the English sound system to help you speak like a native speaker. So I want to remind you again, if you have ever doubted your ability, you just have to remember that, like you, I have never been to any English-speaking country. I have no so-called language talent. I cannot distinguish certain English sounds. My English teacher's English levels weren't very good. And I have a short tongue frenulum, yet through my own efforts and the help of the English sound system, now I can speak like a native speaker, and it just took me 1 year. After knowing these 4 secrets, do you have more confidence that you will speak like a native speaker?